All of us are going to die, and this is the truth that shapes everything. The implication of this becomes the finite amount of time that we have to live, to do the things we really want to do. This makes it a mission to figure out what, of the infinite possibilities, we want to do in this short time, while simultaneously having to make these decisions with the least amount of life experience that you will ever have. This is the task of the young adult, to decide the fate of the entirety of your life, while not having the necessary experience to make the best decisions possible. As someone who's wrestling with this very dilemma, I'd like to think that one day that I might have it all figured out, but I'm not sure I ever will. All I know, quote, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." Now I'm still young, but I've already made plenty of bad decisions, and I've done plenty of things that I regret. Things that have made certain avenues of life inaccessible to me. If I had the chance, it's possible that I would have done some things differently, made myself a better person, but that's just not possible. Instead, I must learn to accept the wrong I did, try and correct my mistakes, and go on a path of my making that continues to grow narrower and narrower, ever closer to the inevitable fate that I will follow. It's impossible to make every correct decision, especially when you don't have the experience necessary to know what to do. But I think you just have to accept the wrongdoing that has happened, move on, and find your way forward. It's difficult to not feel guilt for previous actions. I know I sure do some days, but every day you get older, further from your misdeeds, and more ready to pick up the pieces. Living with resentment for yourself is a surefire way to make sure you never find the path that you want. But hey, if that isn't bad enough, when I said you had an infinite amount of possibilities, that was just a lie. Capitalism wants you to believe that your possibilities are infinite at birth, that nothing is going to stop you from doing anything you want to do, but we know that's a lie. I wasn't born to wealth, to fame, to notoriety. Right from the beginning, there were barriers of entry to many of the most prestigious paths in life. I couldn't have dreamed of going to an Ivy League college. I couldn't rely on my parents to get me high-paying, cushy jobs, and I never would have made it in Hollywood. Already, the upper echelons of society are barred to the majority of people, certainly through no fault of their own. And this is just talking about the class you were born into. This isn't even to mention the other factors that come into play. Country of origin, race, gender, sexuality, you name it. All of these differences serve to make life harder for those born at a disadvantage. From the very beginning, through no fault of your own, your path is more set in stone than those born in privilege, and that's just the way that it is. Life's not fair, and it's your job to sit back and deal with it. Truth is, in our world right now, that's just kind of how it goes. And it is unfair, yet it's inevitable that your path in life will be determined by many factors out of your control. But even if they weren't, there's still no way of accomplishing everything you want out of life. I just finished reading The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and I read it because there was a passage I had seen a couple of times that I could never quite get out of my head. Quote, "I saw my life branching out before me like the green fig tree in the story. From the tip of every branch, like a fat purple fig, a wonderful future beckoned and winked. One fig was a husband and a happy home and children, and another fig was a famous poet, and another fig was a brilliant professor, and another fig was E.G., the amazing editor, and another fig was Europe and Africa and South America, and another fig was Constantine and Socrates and Attila, and a pack of other lovers with queer names and offbeat professions. And another fig was an Olympic lady crew champion, and sitting beyond above these figs were many more figs that I couldn't quite make out. I saw myself sitting in the crotch of this fig tree, starving to death, just because I couldn't make up my mind which of the figs I would choose. I wanted each and every one of them, but choosing one meant losing all the rest. And as I sat there, unable to decide, the figs began to wrinkle and go black, and one by one they plopped to the ground at my feet. I mean, this is literally me for real. There's a certain solace in the fact that I'm not alone in this feeling, one of hopelessness that I will never be able to do all these things that I want to do, that my path is becoming more and more rigid as time goes on, whether I want it to or not. If I don't take an active role in my future, then it will be decided for me. So then, what happens after this realization? Well, I think you just have to follow a path. Decide on one and follow it to completion. At least, that's the only prescription I can make any sense of. Simply floundering and trying to continue to make a decision doesn't seem logical, nor does trying to spread yourself thin by engaging in every single one of your interests. Dedicating your life to the interest that draws you the most seems to be the only logical way to live without regrets. Of course, this doesn't mean to completely drop all of your other pursuits. A person has to have hobbies outside of their ultimate one, otherwise you're at serious risk for burnout, and also becoming a boring, one-dimensional person. A life is made up of a variety of interests, ideas, and teachings. It would be silly to point anyone in a direction of a solitary goal with no room for anything else. If you like reading, learning languages, or even learning about math, there's no reason for you to drop all of those things in pursuit for one goal. You shouldn't stop all of your interests because of your career. Otherwise, you just won't be much of a person. You won't be able to hold a conversation about anything except your very niche interests. You see why this whole life thing is so stressful? There are so many points in which you can seemingly fail, or set yourself along a path you didn't initially think you wanted. You can be so absorbed in your path that you forget to detour, but I think that the best life is led somewhere in the middle. In order to figure out this ultimate path, it's important to try new things, to experience everything that you can, and all while not closing too many doors for yourself. Even with all this talk, I think we're missing one crucial piece to the puzzle. How are you supposed to decide what your life's work is gonna be? I mean, while you're collecting all of these cool hobbies and interests, how do you decide which one you want to shape your entire life? This is the impasse that I'm struggling with, and I'd imagine it's a pretty common one. I've always loved philosophy, literature, and writing, but I also have a lot of other interests that I can see myself making a career out of. Adding the monetary incentive, or the lack thereof, introduced by capitalism, and there's a whole new layer of decision making. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to one thing: prioritizing your passion and sticking to it, no matter what. Kierkegaard, in Fear and Trembling, posited the concept of a leap of faith, a completely blind leap into an idea which you have no proof of, no rational reason to believe, and yet you continue to hold a commitment to this idea. It's a completely absurd claim to hold on to a belief just for the sake of doing so. But when the questions that you have answers to don't have any concrete way of finding those answers, nor any logical basis for them, I don't see any other way of going about the decision. To Kierkegaard, a leap of faith is meant strictly in the religious sense. But to me, I think it can be used in so many other ways. It's about instinct. On a fundamental level, you know the direction you want your life to go, and from that, you should fight for what you want. There isn't any certainty that anything will turn out the way you want it. I mean, there certainly may be no practicality to your decision, but yet you know what you want, and you aren't going to let anything get in the way. No amount of reflection, of overthinking, will ever lead you down the path that you want to be. Overanalysis leads to nothing but anxiety, and for the rest of your life, you'll have the question as to whether or not the decision you made is correct. This, to me, just doesn't seem like a way to live. Instead, live beyond reason, as if by instinct, and follow yourself into a world of your own making. At least, as much as you can. Because once you've made the leap, you can't go back. It's as if jumping off a ledge you can't climb back up onto. You're there for good. And hey, your path may not be the thing that makes you rich, but it will be the thing that makes you fulfilled. Even if it's not your job, but a hobby or passion that you do on the side, it's worth pursuing. Obviously, I'm not making any money from doing these videos, and yet I'm continuously compelled to keep doing this. Even if they might not seem like much, I'm putting hours and hours of work into every one. And I'm still learning the whole process, how to edit video, find B-roll and footage, and how to communicate my message and improve my writing skills. I'm still starting on this path, and although I may not always succeed, I hope my effort has something to show from it. And of course, I'm still working a full-time job separately from this hobby I have, which is just an inevitability in the world we live in. So don't let your job take over your entire life. It's a problem I've seriously been working on the past few months, and that's a part of the reason I began this channel. I needed some sort of an outlet outside of work to keep my sanity, to make sure I don't lose myself and my voice in the corporate capitalist world. And yet, if I never do see a dime from this, I'll still be fulfilled in my pursuit of self-actualization. But I would still love for this to become a career. Being able to make money off of creativity is a dream of many. Escaping the rat race to make art you've always wanted has always seemed impossible. There's always that idea in the back of my head. Even if it never happens, it's a nice thing to remind myself of. In my personal life, I've divided my time up into too many projects. As I continue to contemplate Sylvia Plath's fig tree, the more I think about what fig I would like to pick. To gain inspiration, I find that my childhood interests have given me the most insight into what I would truly like to do. And I think if you're struggling with this decision as well, look back into your childhood and see what you can find. Oftentimes, those interests that we had as kids are some of the things that we are drawn most to as adults. I've always been inspired by writers, then later in childhood by YouTube essayists and video makers. I'm deeply inspired by the arts, and although there are certainly not the same financial expectations as the path that I'm currently on, I can't help but devote more and more attention to these things that I truly love. That's why I've decided to make a serious commitment to this channel. For the next 2 months, I'll be posting 1 video a week. And although I wouldn't call this a leap of faith, I don't believe I need to declare a path right this second. And there's nothing wrong with that if you're feeling the same way. But hey, you might as well try and spend your time doing those things you enjoy, right? Life shouldn't be about making the most amount of money possible, or maximizing every minute of your day in the pursuit of productivity. You should be doing things you enjoy, even if they aren't going to make you rich. Early adulthood is hard. Hell, life is hard. So don't make it harder on yourself by being brainwashed by capitalists. Spend your time how you want, and one day you'll find yourself exactly where you want to be, and you'll look back to see all of those possibilities behind you, not with regret, but with the knowledge that you've gone into the right direction. I may never choose the right fit for myself, but the only way forward is to try one, to accept it, and continue to live without regretting the past.